Hey, what's up everyone? So in this video, I want to show you how you can implement this awesome feature where you can add a new input field dynamically by clicking a button, and also you can remove input fields by clicking a button. So this is useful when you want to have a list of items, like when you want a user to input a list of items. For example, right here, let's say we want to have a list of services that we want to list, and then we can see the output here. So right here we have one input field, and maybe we can say we are doing web dev. And then when I click on add a service, then we have a new input field, and maybe we can say mobile dev. And you can also add another one. We can have game dev, and you can have another one. Let's say we have UI stroke UX, and you can also like limit the number of items that you want. So in this case, I have limited it to 4 items. And then you can take this data and save it on the database and retrieve it and show it on the UI. But in this case, I'm just like reading the data from the state. Okay, so yeah, this is a very cool feature, and you can also like remove. So you can remove from any order. You can start with mobile dev and it's gone. You can start with game dev, it's gone. And now you can also like now add another one, remove. And once you have only one, then you can't like remove it. You'll have to enter at least one. So yeah, this is what I want to show you in this video. It's a very cool feature, and I want to be focusing on the design. I'll focus only on the logic. So yeah, if you wish to have the design, the CSS, then I'll leave a link at the description section below to the source code, which will take you to my GitHub. Okay, cool. So even before we continue, this video is sponsored by me. So if you wish to create a cool portfolio site just like mine right here using React and styled components, then I recently published a course on Gumroad, and I'll be showing you how you can create each of these features from scratch and make this particular portfolio to be mobile responsive using React and styled components. So you don't need to know styled components, but I'll be expecting you to know a bit of React, the basic stuff, so that it's easier for you to follow. Again, the course is available on Gumroad. You'll have access to the source code and various links. You can either watch the videos live, or you can even download them and watch later if you want. And I'll leave a link to this particular course at the description section below. Also, if you join the channel as a member, you'll have access to this particular portfolio course and also to any other premium course that I'll be dropping. And this is also a cool feature for you to support my content. And we also have a free version of the portfolio here on YouTube, already having 900 views, and I'll leave a link at the description section so that you can access the free version, see my teaching style, and then decide whether you can purchase the premium course. So right here I have the CSS and the JSX template for us to work with, but it is not having any logic, so we can't add a service, we can't remove, also we can't see the output. So I'll leave the template on my GitHub so that you can have these starter files in case you want to follow along. Okay, so what I have on my code, it's just the form, and then for the form I'm dividing it with various divs. So I have the form field right here, and then I have the output right here, and then inside the form field I have the label, and I have a section for our services. And for this section I'm dividing it into the first division and the second division. For the first division, we have the input field and a button to add a service, and also right here we have another button to remove the service. So the order actually doesn't matter so much. This was purposeful for the styling. Okay, so if you wish to see the stylings, you can go to app.css, and this is where you'll find all the stylings. Okay, so I won't go into this one. I want us to just add the logic to this particular form. Okay, so first of all, what we will need to do is to track our input using our state. So we need to import use state from React right here. I will import use state, and this will come from React. Okay, and then let's create a piece of state just before our return statement. So right here I'll say const, and I can destructure our service list and also set service list. So I'm assuming you are familiar with React and you know what this kind of code means. And then now right here we'll get this from use state, and for our state we will have our services in form of an array. Okay, so right here we can have an array, and for each input field we will track its input inside a service right here, which is in form of an object. Okay, so this is in form of an object, and I'll set it to be a string. So this is like the default value, because we should at least have one input field in our form. So first of all, let's map through our service list right here, and then dynamically display our input depending on how many services that we have right here. Okay, so after our label, this is where I'll include the curly brackets, and we can say service list, and we will say dot map. We invoke this, and now we can have a single service at a time, and also we can have access to the index. And I can wrap this with brackets like this, so that we can return something using the arrow function. And what we will return in here is our services right here. So I'll copy the services. I can just click on this one to see where it ends. I highlight it and move it at the top here. So I'll move in here and then save to auto format the code. So this is what we currently have. We are dynamically displaying our services right here, which is basically an input field and our buttons, depending on the number of services that we have on our state. So right now we only have one, and let's include a special key to this one and set it to index. So right here I'll say key will be equal to index, just like that. And I will save this, and let's preview our site. So first of all, you'll see that we still have the same output, but when we add another service in our array, so if I highlight this one, I copy it, and let's duplicate it right here. I will save. Now you'll see that we will have two input fields for each of these particular services. So when I come back, let's see, there we go. Now we have input fields for each of them. So we are tracking the number depending on the state. So what we will do to add a new input field, it's to just basically manipulate our piece of state right here, and then we will have multiple fields to work with. But first of all, let's dynamically display our button right here, so that we only have one button to add a service, and then we can have multiple buttons for removing a service. So after our input field, so I'll include the curly brackets, and right here we can have our service list dot length, and what we want is to include this particular button only on the last input field. We don't want it on all the input fields. So we can perform a check right here. We say service list dot length -1. So this will give us the last index. Okay, so if we have the length as 1 and we subtract 1, that is 0, and 0 is our index right here. So we can compare this with the index which we are getting from here. So if this is equal to our index, then we can show our add service right here. Also, we want to limit the number of maybe inputs. So you can say right here, end, if our service list dot length is less than 4, then this is when we also want to show our input field. So if it's higher than 4, we don't want to show it. So right here we can also chain end, and then we display our button. So I'll just cut this, and after this one we can display our button. So if this condition is met, that is when we will see our button right here. So I will save that, and now even if we add another service right here, just like that, you will notice that we will have add service only on one of them. So let it load. Yeah, there we go. So we have two input fields, but we only have add a service only on this last one. We don't have it on this one, okay, which is cool. And then we don't want to remove the first one. So if we have only one of the input field, we don't want to show the remove button. So how we can do that? We can also conditionally render our remove button. So let's come here and conditionally render this button. So also we will have service length, service list.length. So if this is greater than 1, the length is greater than 1, that is when we want to show our button. So we can say end, and then we will show our button right here. So I'll just cut it and include it right here. And then when I save, and let's now have only one of them, I will remove this one and then save. We shouldn't see the remove on our input field. So I'll come back and let's see. Yeah, there we go. We don't have the remove, but when we have two, so let's return our second one, we should have the remove button. So I will save that, and when I come back, we should have two remove buttons right here. There we go. And now let's add functionality to dynamically add a service, and also to dynamically remove the service and track the change. Okay, so we will start with adding a service. It's the easiest. So I will remove that, and now right here we can create a function which will be our helper method. So I'll say const, I'll call it a handle service add. Just like that, and I'll set it to be equal to an arrow function. And in here, all we will do, we will add a new service to our array of services. So to our service list right here. So we will call our set service right here. We'll say set service list, and we will invoke it, and we will pass an array. We will spread our service list. So I'll spread service list, and then all we will do is to add a new object like this one, because the number of input is controlled by the number of services that we have right here. So I'll just add a new one like this, and believe me not, when we call this function, then we will be able to add a new service. So let's now come on our button right here to add a service, and we will simply add an on-click event to this one. So let me have it here. I can say on a click, and we will basically call our handle service. How did we call it? Handle service add. Just like that. And now when I save this, we should now dynamically add our input fields depending on the number of service that we have. So let's test it out. So I'll come back right here, wait for this one to load. Now when I click add service, you see we can add now up to 4 services depending on our logic, but we can't remove. So let's implement the remove button. So right here, let's have a helper method for us to remove. I'll say const handle service remove, and I'll set this to be equal to, for this one we will receive our index. We need to know the specific input field that we want to remove, and then we will call our function, And right here, the first thing that we can do is to reassign our service list to a new constant. So I can say const list will be equal to an array of, we spread our service list. So I'll spread service list, and then what we will do now, we will use this new array of our service list to remove a specific service depending on the index. We will make use of the splice array method. So right here, if we say list dot splice, and then we invoke this one. So right here, if we say index and then 1, so from a certain index, maybe from index 0, remove only one service. And then after this, we can now update our service list using set service. So right here, we can just call set service list, and we will invoke it, and we'll set it to be our list. And our list is an array of services in which we have removed a specific service. Now let's call our handle service remove from our button right here and pass an index to it. So right here, we will say on click, and we'll set it to be equal to, since we want to include an index, we will call an arrow function like this, and we will call our handle service remove, and I'll invoke this one, and we can pass the index like that. Now I will save this, and we should be able to remove a service from our list. So let's test it out. I'll come back right here. Right now, we don't have multiple services. Let's add a new one, and now we have 2, we have 3. When we click on this one, whoa, it's not working. So let's see where we are making a mess. And yeah, it's this one. This is supposed to be on click, starting with a capital. I will save that, and now let's test it out. So now when I click on remove, you see it's removing our services. Awesome. This is cool. Now we can add and remove the input fields. But now we need a way of tracking the changes and updating the state, okay? So let's see how we can do that. So we can make our input field to be a controlled input. So the value depends on the state. So right here, we can set the value to be equal to, and we'll set it to be equal to our single service, and then dot service, okay, like that. And then we need to handle on change, so we'll say on change right here, and we'll set it to be equal to, we will have a helper method. So first of all, we will need to track the event. So right here, we'll have e, and we'll set this to return a handle service change. So we haven't created this helper method, but we are going to create it in a minute. And then we invoke this, and we pass our e. So e stands for event, and then we'll also need to have our index so that we update the correct service, okay? So we need to have the index. Now let's create this particular helper method right here. So I can have const handle service change, just like that, and we'll set this to be equal to, we'll have access to e and index, and we can set this to be an arrow function. Now we can be able to destructure the value from e.target. So remember, from our e right here, we can have e.target.value, and also we'll be having access to the name. So we can have e.target.name. And now right here, we can destructure the name and the value from e.target. So right here, I can say a const, I destructure name, and also I destructure the value from e.target, just like that. And then let's reassign our service list to list. So I can just copy this one like that and paste it here. And now right here, we can make use of this new list. We can say list, and we access a specific service in our list. So how can we do that? We'll make use of the index and the name. So right here, we can say we access the index, and then we access the name right here using also these particular brackets. So the first one will access the specific index. So let's say this index 0, and then it will access the name. So the name will now be service, and now we can update the value for this particular service. Okay, so right here we can have let the name be equal to value. So now right here we can just update our service list using set service list. So right here I'll make use of set service list, and then I will invoke these and I'll pass my list, and then when I save, this should do it. So right here I have the app, I have opened the console, and actually let's log a service list to the console so that we see the output. So I'll say console.log, and we will have service list right here, and then let me save. And then when I come back, we should have at least one array for our service. So there we go. We have one array, and our array has one item, which is the service. Now let's try to make a change. Hello. And you can see now we are successfully updating this particular array. We are updating our service to hello. Now when we add another service, now look, we have two items in our array. The second one doesn't have a value. When we add another one, now we have 3. The third one doesn't have a value. Let's say hey, and now the third one should have a value. There we go. So this is working, okay? And we can remove, and also our state will change to 2 items. We can remove, and now we should have 1 item without anything. So this is working, and this is how you can actually do it. So you can handle change like this, and then you can add a field like this, you can remove like this, and now you can just take this service list and send it to your backend, or you can just decide to output them directly like I did before, just to showcase. So right here you can map through the service list and show each service at a time. So let me show you how to do that, and then we will wrap these up. Okay, so right here we can have our service list like this, and what we can do is to map through them. So I can say dot map, and we can have a single service at a time. So I can say single service. We can have access to the index like that, and then we can return something from this one. Actually, we should do it in here. So what we should do is to wrap this one, the index and the single service, in some brackets, and then after that one we are just making it to be like an arrow function right here, so that we can return a UL, so that it forms a list, and then we can have an LI, but we should conditionally render our LI depending on whether our service has a value or not. So we can have single service, and then we say dot service, and then we will say end. So if we have this, if it has a value, then we can show our LI. So right here I can have LI, and now in here we can show our single service dot service. So I'll copy this and I'll paste it in here, and also we should have a unique key. So that is why we actually included the index. So we can have the key as index. Now when I save this, we should have our list of various items depending on our service list, which is our state. So now when I come back when I add right here, let's say hello, something is wrong. We have single service.service. So what we should do is to include the curly brackets right here so that we read the value from the state. I will save that and let's see. So this should update to hello right here. There we go. And then when we add another one, we can say hey. And there we go. Now this is working. When I remove, we also remove that. And we have achieved the goal of this video. I just wanted to show you how you can implement this cool feature, which is awesome for listing various stuff. And yeah, if this video was helpful, please remember to subscribe to my channel to support me. Also remember the course. If you wish to learn more from me using React and Style components, I have that course, and you can check the links at the description section below. And I'll see you in the next one.